There's one other area I want to talk about, and it's not going to be a surprise to my colleagues. There's a couple other areas I want to talk about, and that's the federal workforce. This agreement provides for a 1.3% increase in retirement contributions for new hires under federal service. That's on top of an increase that was just done 2 years ago on the extension, or a year ago on the extension of the payroll tax, where we increased the retirement contributions for new hires. We also, in this budget agreement, have a reduction in the COLA increases for military retirees. I think that's regrettable. I don't believe that should have been in this budget agreement. Our civilian workforce has already contributed. When you add up what will be done by retirement contributions, that's going to be over $20 billion. But we've had 3 years of a pay freeze, and we have a way in our law where we make adjustments to our civilian workforce pay each year that reflects not the cost of living, something less than the cost of living. Our federal workforce have seen a freeze. They haven't gotten that for the last 3 years. That's close to $100 billion contribution to the deficit. They've already done that. So they've contributed already over about $120 billion plus. And that does not include the fact that many of our federal workforce have had to go endure furloughs as a result of sequestration and government shutdowns. So our federal workforce has contributed. And this is a predominantly middle class of families. Large number of veterans, large number of women, large number of minorities. And they have contributed more than any other group of working Americans already to dealing with this deficit reduction. And I find it very regrettable that this retirement contribution provision was included in the budget agreement. Let me just quote, if I might, from the Nonprofit Partnership for Public Service, who commented to Senator Murray and Representative Ryan during the budget negotiations. And I quote for what they said, because I think it expresses my view, and I hope the view of all the members of the Senate. As you work to put our federal government on a sustainable fiscal path, we encourage you in the strongest possible terms to treat the federal workforce as the considerable asset that it is and ensure that it's appropriately trained, compensated, and resourced to serve the American people with excellence for the long term. The federal civilian service is smaller today on a per capita basis than at almost any time since the Kennedy administration, yet its responsibilities are greater than ever. Rather than asking how to make the federal workforce smaller or less expensive, Congress should be asking what we need the federal government to do and what will take to ensure that we have a workforce with the necessary skills in appropriate quantities to execute those responsibilities with maximum effect at a reasonable cost. Proposals to freeze federal pay, change retirement contributions, or reduce the workforce through attrition do nothing to improve the capacity and performance of the federal government and those who serve in the civilian workforce. These proposals are easy and expedient, but they miss the opportunity to make real sustained improvements in how the federal government manages its people, end quote. I couldn't agree more with those comments. We have a smaller workforce today, asked to do more, extremely important work. These are people who are protecting our food supply. These are the great scientists who are doing the research to give us what we need in new technologies in healthcare. These are people making sure our seniors get the services that they so richly need and deserve. These are people that are on the front line of so many different ways. And our responsibility is to make sure they have the resources to carry out their mission. And yes, we make value judgments as to what are the priorities. But to put our class of federal workers through additional cuts, to me, was wrong. And I regret that that was included in the budget agreement.